Can you believe that we have already April of 2025? Ellamis has just been done. I just finished filming Ellamis 2024. How is it possible that we're already in the 4th month of the year? I don't know. But I thought, let's, instead of doing only one big ranking at the end of the year, just fulfill your wishes, because I am asked for a couple ranking videos every now and then. So I thought I will try to rank every 3 months the palette that I've tried this year. And so I'm starting now with the palettes that I tried in the first 3 months of this year, and then in 3 months into the year, I then maybe add the other ones that I tried now in the upcoming quarter of the year. Would you like to see then a ranking of only the palettes that I then tried new, or mix them with those that I already tried? Let me know down below. But 13 palettes. 13 palettes, that in math means over four per month. I actually tried 1.15 or so for each week, which is okay, but it also means that each week were new eyeshadow palettes, which is definitely not the pace I want to keep up. So this is also a reminder to me to slow down. But let's start with the palette ranking. I don't think that this is a big surprise. The least favorite palette, and by the way, the ranking is not based on feelings. The ranking is based on the numbers in my rankings that I give them. If you don't know that, I rank and I rate every single palette by personal excitement, color story, and quality. And the points that they have at the end, that just says at what rank they are. So let's start with number 13 with a rating of 6.7. The Eyeshadows Cosmetics Dexter palette. The only good thing about this palette is I'm currently rewatching the show. This palette was a huge disappointment in my opinion. I think the packaging is absolutely stunning. I wish it was like a wooden palette, like really like his box, but I appreciate the design. But overall, first of all, the reds up here turn pink on the eyes. The other mattes, they're fine, they're okay, nothing bad to say, but every single shimmer is not really doing it. The mattes, or like the looks, not only the mattes, it's the whole look. There was just something really off with these. I gave this a really bad review, and some people for sure didn't watch the whole video, because I had comments saying, yeah, but Eyeshadows Cosmetics is so good because they're made in Germany. They're not made in Germany anymore. Nothing Eyeshadows Cosmetics does is made in Germany anymore. They outsourced everything to China and Poland, which is in general fine, but they are selling themselves as a German handmade brand. And nothing that they do is handmade anymore. So please inform yourself before you come at me, because I'm literally explaining it in the video. To me, this palette was the proof that I needed, that I will not purchase from Eyeshadows Cosmetics again. And I don't know if I keep it throughout the whole year. Maybe if I feel it, you know, sometimes I have the urge here to just declutter something. This could be one of the palettes that will go this year. At number 12, with a ranking of 7.3, we have a Natasha Denona palette, the Roxa. I know people try to teach me, but I just don't say the word enough times in a day to learn it. So I'm really sorry. The thing is, I bought this out of a mood. I just felt like buying something. So it was this, because I get 15% off at Sephora on Natasha Denona. And I think this is a nice palette overall. It's a nice purpley palette. You can't do anything wrong with this. But the shimmers in here are the weakest shimmers Natasha Denona has ever done, which is very disappointing, because I had so much more expectations, but it just, meh. It was just meh. At number 11 with a rate of 7.7. We have an all matte sea beauty palette. This is the Choiz Beauty Cold Butterfly palette. I like this palette. I like this much more than I like the Natasha Denona one, but at the end, it is a all matte eyeshadow palette. I see this as a very, very nice companion palette. I like the overall theming of this, the very icy, not icy, the winter fog theming. That is more what this is. And I'm happy with this. I like the quality of Choiz Beauty, although I have to say that the quality here in this palette is very, very different to the quality in the Sixpence. This palette, by the way, was sent to me in PR by Look Healthy store. If you want to get this, you can save 12% with my code ELLAGRAM. That, though, does not change how I feel about this. Also sent in PR and also with a rating of 7.7, but I put it before the Choiz Beauty, is the Anthemy Black Cat palette. First of all, I think the whole theming here in this palette is really, really nice. The palette just feels incomplete, which is why it got a little bit of a not so good ranking. I still like it. I still think it is a great palette, but it's not an Anthemy palette that I, out of my stomach, would recommend to you immediately. I'm happy that I have it. I like it. I like it more than the other ones, but I can't rank it much higher. At number 9 is the Lisa Eldridge Betty palette, and this scored a 7.8 in my overall ranking. To be honest, everything below 8 is a palette or a product that is a potential declutter. I just want to warn you. I know that a lot of people felt like I attacked their families when I said that I think that the Betty palette is not a good palette, and I stand by this. I think the Betty palette is not a good Lisa Eldridge palette. I do like the colors in there. I do like each on them own. I do like the formulations. The most I am disappointed in Starlet, which is the Luminous Dew here, because we had Luminous Dews already and they had a much better formulation. This breaks up on your eye because it is too emollient. I am just disappointed in this palette. I do like the inspiration because Betty is the cat from Lisa Eldridge, and when you look at photos of Betty, definitely this, even with the purples. It is really, really nice. A nice representation of the fur, absolutely. By the way, then it also makes sense with Talk to the Paw. I just wasn't aware of that when I tried it the first time. But people were really, really mad at me for saying that I don't like the palette, and were like, you're using it wrong. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? You're not supposed to use this with dark colors. And I'm like, huh? That was an Instagram DM that I got, by the way. I'm not supposed to use this palette with dark colors because it just defeats the purpose of the palette. Like, what is the purpose of an eyeshadow palette? Aha, to create looks. So I think I'm entitled to use dark colors as much as I want. And I still can't say that I don't like the palette. I think it is just, and this is just a harsh word, but that's English. It's the worst from Lisa Eldridge that I have tried so far. I know that a lot of people love this, and I'm happy for them. But again, anything below 8 is a potential declutter. For now, I see myself grabbing this in the summer and maybe then rethink my opinion on this. We're entering now a score of above 8, and also on number 8 is the Little Miss She Never Misses from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. This scored an 8.2 in my ranking. This is definitely not my favorite Blend Bunny palette. I am not sure if the Blend Bunny ranking is up yet. No, I think it is after this video, but I just filmed it. This is on the lower half of my Blend Bunny ranking, but it is a good palette. I think if you don't have any Blend Bunny palettes with the rainbow theming, so nothing, then this might be a nice addition to your collection. Overall, if you're looking for a rainbow palette, I wouldn't recommend this, but I like it for what it is, and it has some really good shades like Slither In, Hi, Hey, Hello, She Never Misses. Oh, Kenneth is a beautiful shade, but as I said, not my favorite. really not. At number 7 with a rating of 8.5 is the second Anthemy palette that was sent to me in PR by Look Healthy store at the beginning of 2025. This is the Icy Ferret. I already know in my mind how this palette looks, and I know how happy I am now looking at this. So fucking pretty. The biggest reason why this is quite low in the ranking and has a fairly low rating are the formulation of most of these shades here. Because it has just the typical squishy, indie flaky formulation that it requires a lot of working. And if you never work with these, it also requires, in my opinion, a little bit of try and error because everybody's eyelid reacts different to these. For some people like me, if I apply too much, I have a layer and then it breaks up like crackling nail polish in 2005. But I do like the color story, and my personal excitement and color story really pushed up that rating very, very high. And while I might not like the quality so much compared to the Black Cat actually, this is a palette that I will keep in my collection just alone for the perfection of the color story and for my excitement. Now we have two palettes common that both got a rate of 8.7, but I had to put one lower and one higher in my ranking, so I decided at number 6 I will put the Cheeryep Fog Garden palette. Beautiful. By the way, do you see the whole theming of the beginning of the year? Foggy, icy, desaturated shades. That is the vibe that we were going for and that I personally am still lusting for. I put it lower than the other palette because of the fact that this is only a matte palette. Other than that, there is nothing to just criticize about this. I really enjoy the palette. Some of these shades are a little bit patchy. They also blend a bit patchy, but if you're okay with putting in some work, definitely worth the risk. I love the Cheeryep formula, and I have to admit that some of these shades in here, they are a little bit different than the mattes they had released. They feel a little bit more creamy. The pastel shades in here, they are really powerful. So if you're looking for a desaturated dusty winter matte palette, that's your friend. So entering the top 5 with a palette that is also scoring an 8.7, but I ranked it higher because of the versatility, is the enemy, the nemesis of a lot of people. This is Pat McGrath Mothership 13 Petalmorphosis. I said in my review about this palette that this, to me, does not represent spring. This represents rotten flowers, and I love this. I absolutely adore the vibe of this palette. I even like the greens in there, which is very, very rare. My biggest complaint about this is that these are not baked anymore. And if you follow the news, baked shades are just history. They will never come back. Plus, if we can believe the sources that we have on Reddit and people from Sephora and Instagram and stuff, baked shades are also replaced in the older palettes that still have baked shades. I personally like this. I think this is one of the best motherships that Pat McGrath has brought out. At number 4, we have the Dark Siren Goth palette, The Beauty Below from Blend Bunny, an absolute masterpiece in this topic. This is so pretty. I love everything about this palette. It is really, really stunning. The looks that you are able to create will all be very dark, sultry, very, very water siren inspired, and mwah, nothing to complain really. But I ranked it at number 4 with the very, very breathtaking rating of 9.3. So you see, there are just a few things that were not perfect in this palette. Also in 9.3, but actually at the 3rd place, and that has just that one bonus point for the theming is the ColourPop New Moon palette. I am not the biggest fan of the New Moon movie, I have to admit, and I'm also not the biggest fan of the color stories. So that is the thing that I criticize the most here. But again, it's a Twilight palette, so this has immediately a bonus point. The quality of these eyeshadows is so good. And if we rank or rate the color story just not for my personal preference, but for what it is representing the colors of the movie New Moon, then I should have given this a 10 out of 10, but I didn't because it's also a bit my preference. It just is perfect. This palette is perfectly designed for the New Moon movie. There is nothing more to add because we're just talking about minimal critique points here. Number 2, with the scoring of 9.5, nearly perfect. The Gloss Gods Dancing Lights. It's the palette that I'm wearing today because actually I was not sure if I can include it in here, but today was also the day that I filmed my last look with this, so I was able to form my final review. And this palette is, I said it in the review 1,000 times, I feel like, this is bringing me back to why I fell in love with Gloss Gods. The artistry, the colorfulness, the inspiration, the vibe, everything just in here makes me want to dig into the palette. All the looks that I created were amazing. I have so little critique. My biggest thing is actually that I am missing one shade in here. I think a gray would have benefited the palette so much. I gave it a little bit of a minus for Polar Sky and Dancing Lights because it's that very oily formulation, although they do apply better than their older ones. And my personal excitement is just at a 9.5 because I was initially not very excited and I just got excited when I saw the looks with this, so I can't give this a 10 out of 10. 9.5 is an amazing scoring and I am stunned and blown away by this palette. And calm your tits because we have a palette that is one of the few examples in my eyeshadow collection that scored a 10 out of 10. We have a 10 in personal excitement, we have a 10 in quality, and we have a 10 in color story. And that is the Adept Emo palette. I can't believe that I'm saying this, but this palette, nothing in this palette represents emo. I just want to make that clear. But everything in this palette makes sense. This is the first Adept Cosmetics palette with a 100% perfect cohesive color story. I have nothing to complain. I have nothing that I would have made differently in this palette. Even that green here makes sense. It works together. All the shades work together. The shimmers work with the mattes. 2 shimmers work with each other. Everything is just perfectly combined in this palette. I couldn't have done this better. I wouldn't have called this the emo palette. Again, it does not represent emo to me, but what it represents here in the palette is just amazing, and I want to wash off my makeup and apply an eyeshadow look with this right now. Every single one that I created was so magical perfect. Nothing, really nothing I can complain. And so this goes to the 10 out of 10 Hall of Fame next to palettes like the Cool Trills from Cosmic Brushes, the Winter Wonderland from Cosmic Brushes, and the Freya 86 X Cheeryep Floating Life palette. And now, of course, I'm curious, would you have ranked them to the same? What are the palettes that you maybe tried in the first quarter of the year? what is your ranking? What was the best palette that you've tried so far for this quarter? According to some of your comments, I think that Pat McGrath and the Lisa Eldridge Betty palette will be mentioned a couple of times. So let me please know down below. I'm always curious how you feel about these palettes. And as always, make sure you subscribe to miss out any of the upcoming videos. If you want to support this channel so that I can purchase more makeup, then make sure you are also subscribed for that. Watch the videos, and if you have it and you can spare it, you can also support me through the membership or through the Patreon. Please never feel forced to do this. Don't do things that you can't afford, because you commenting, watching, engaging, this is the best type of support that you can give. Thank you so much, and I see you soon.